This is TWiT. Google announces plans to tackle privacy issues in online advertising. What it really means is that Google is, like Facebook, terrified by the new IDFA rules on the iPhone. The new privacy rules are really giving it. There's estimates like it's costing Facebook like $15 million a month or something. So Google is trying to figure out a way to, in fact, I think they're going to do it. They've announced they're not going to use the IDFA, the ID for advertisers from Apple, because if they do use it, they have to pop up a thing on the iPhone that says, hey, we would like to use this to track you and give users a chance to turn it off. Of course, they know.
People are going to just decline.
They're just going to say, you're right, I don't want that. Turn it off. So Google has been working very hard to figure out a way around it. They've decided not to use IDFA, so they don't have to do that announcement. Basically, their plan is to create a new way of tracking you. They're not going to call it that. They say privacy first. So this is from The Guardian, Google's new plan to tackle privacy issues. I just wanted you to have that background. Maybe I'm a cynic. In online advertising.
I know this
how is
isn't
this
the
related
same,
to the
but
cookie?
what about it? It makes me think of the whole GDPR when it started up a couple years back, and I look at what has it given to us as consumers nowadays, other than that annoying pop-up that people don't read and just hit accept.
Well, I think it empowers users. In this case, on the iPhone, you don't use an iPhone, Ant, so you don't see this.
I'm one of the smart ones. Kidding.
When you look at apps in the App Store, there's actually it looks like a nutrition label, a privacy label that tells you. You certainly are aware of the fact that there has been an exodus away from WhatsApp, right? And signals going through the roof. That is exactly because of Apple's new privacy policy. People, that and the fact that WhatsApp felt obligated to say, and by the way, which we've always done, we're going to share this information with Facebook. But the thing is, it's now explicit. And so people are going, what? I don't know why they're surprised. What?
Yeah.
You're sharing my information with Facebook? And they're going to somewhere else, like Signal. Signal's gone through the roof. Telegram's gone through the roof.
Yep.
So if you ask me what's the impact, I just have to point to that by itself. Yeah. And that's just one of many.
Fair.
Google has been avoiding this by not updating their apps. We talked about this before since the middle of December. And they did say initially, we're going to do it. But they have announced a plan to, as the Guardian puts it, chart a middle ground between Apple's privacy-first approach and the needs of advertisers. So let me explain what Google's trying to do. They will use AI. This is actually kind of what Apple's already doing. Apple calls it differential privacy. They'll use AI to bundle your information, individual information, with similar people in an attempt to convince users they don't need to block all tracking on the internet to preserve their privacy. It's going to use and the Guardian puts this in quotes, trusted server to store advertisements without needing to connect to hundreds of providers across the wider web. That is a problem. In fact, advertisers often ask us if, because we have some banner ads on our website, if they can serve them. And we always say no for that very reason. Because, in effect, if a third party is serving an ad on a website, that third party has access to everybody who goes to that website, sees who it is, right? So Google's going to use a central server. They're also going to use crypto to ensure that advertisers only find the information they need to pay websites. We believe, this is Chetna Bindra, Google's head of user trust and privacy for advertising. That's got to be a tough job. Chetna says, we believe the notion that it's privacy or it's advertising is a false choice. We really do believe there's a way to meet user expectations and protect their identity while allowing for ad-supported content. I think...
So relate this, if you would, to the post-cookie Google sandbox.
It's the same thing.
It's the same exact thing. Okay.
Google says it's going to start experimenting in Chrome with how to do that. A new privacy sandbox bundles together 5 proposals with bird-themed code names. My favorite is
Who do
Flock.
you think they are? Twitter?
My favorite is Flock, FLOC,
See.
Federated Learning of Cohorts, Fledge, which is first locally executed decisions over groups, and Turtle Dove, which is not an acronym. 2 uncorrelated requests, then locally executed decision on victory. Oh, it is. Sort of.
Yes,
2
it is.
uncorrelated requests, then locally executed turtle, decision on victory, dove, no E. These are all designed, in effect, to separate the user's identity with the user's information. And they think preferable to Apple's system, which is just say you can't track me, you can't track them.
Publishers are
That's 'cause
freaking
Google has
out
to make
still
money on
about
ads.
this.
Yeah, well, this is Google's business. This is how they make money. Period.
Yeah.
Well, and
like,
the publishers too
you
are
could do
freaking
it.
out
Why are publishers freaking out?
because a lot of them basically aren't doing very well at selling their own ads. They've never done well at getting first-party data, so they depended upon these networks that required third-party, and they had to produce cookies to serve to these sellers, and they never got their act together to create first-party. So they're going to see a fall in value.
I have to say, for people like Stacey and others who've advocated regulating, that should be some nice governmental solution that would make this all work out. This is a good argument for the power of regulation, because they're only doing this because of EU, GDPR, the investigations from the Federal Trade Commission. This is them and Congress. This is them saying, well, maybe if we do this, let everybody be happy.
But the publishers said regulate them, and then they regulate them, and then there's unintended consequences. So what happens too is that there was a Guardian story not long ago that regulators looking into Google getting rid of cookies. Well, you told them to get rid of cookies, and cookies were evil, so they get rid of cookies. And then, what are you doing to get rid of cookies? You have too much power. It's the old can't win too.
Well, Google did say publishers will see a palpable impact on their Google ad revenue on iOS once this
it's regulatory
happens.
capture again. Google can afford this. They can do whatever they can. You want us to re-regulate how all of advertising works? Okay, we'll do that, and we're going to end up stronger than we were before. It's the way all of these things, GDPR, all of these things have made the platforms stronger in the end.
Allison Schiff, writing at adexchanger.com, says Facebook could take a multi-billion-dollar revenue hit from Apple's IDFA changes, as much as 7% of total revenue in Q2. Actually, she's quoting a consultant, Eric Seufert of Mobile Dev Memo. That'd be about $5 billion based on the current revenue. That's just significant. So, Ant, to answer your question, this is more than a cookie checkbox.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big
It changes the
deal.
architecture.
Yeah. You think in a bad way, Jeff? Do you think it's going to harm publishers?
Well, no. I know it's going to harm publishers. Yes.
Well, what are the
It absolutely
unintended
will. But that's
consequences?
because they don't have the data. Google has the data. They don't have the data, and they can't share.
They never have had the
anymore.
data, though, right?
Because they were in networks of third-party data. So when you demonize third-party data and you never had your own strategy to get first-party data, you're screwed. Now, I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, because the publishers should have. I've argued to them for 10 years now that they should have created the means to get their own first-party data by creating things that were customized for users rather than just a mass. But they refused to do it. They absolutely refused. They just didn't know how to do it. And so they're dependent upon programmatic networks. And one of the pioneers of programmatic was at an event that I had at my school, and this person scolded the publishers in the room and said, "Why the hell are you on programmatic? You're commodifying yourself. There's no value to your environment. There's no value to your brand. You're just putting your stuff out there as a commodity." And they said, well, we got nothing else, basically. And plus, that's where the advertisers are. So the publishers could have 20 years ago built better strategies, and then this wouldn't be an issue for them. It's an issue for them because they didn't do that.